Good evening. I think we might be live. We've gone back to having SD on the phone because Pyman has had a bit of a nightmare today. Not only has his boiler broke, he's also had a broken vacuum cleaner. So when I last spoke to Pyman, approximately 20 minutes ago, he was on the way back from the shop with a vacuum cleaner in hand. So we've gone back to looking at my ugly face for half an hour. There is loads to get through. I've got SD on the line. But before we go into anything, I will just state that around the world, around the racing world with SD, which is a new feature to the channel and has been very successful, his last 4 selections have all won, which is pretty incredible form, to be fair. And last week it was Hufflepuff at Wolverhampton, which I know a few of you followed, I think, or a few of you that didn't follow text me saying they regretted not doing so. So yeah, credit to SD on that. But yeah, plenty to go at this weekend. Quickly, SD, how are you, young man?
I was great. I mean, that was the result of the weekend, wasn't it? Hufflepuff. I was at Wolverhampton. I absolutely shouted it home. And Pinot, we got all the money out of Pinot in Scottish and Northern Irish notes. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I saw that. Well done. Well done. Well, I had a couple of quid on myself, literally a couple of quid. Should have been more. So well done. And as we've said a few times, around the world with SD, worth following. Right, straight into it. It's the St. Ledger this weekend, the final classic of the season, and we've got quite a strong favourite in Hurricane Lane, who's pretty much odds on. I think 4 to 6 across the board. I'll just have a quick run through before we go on to SD. Hurricane Lane third in the Derby, where he lost both front shoes. I think I put him up for the Derby that day, and he did finish third, to be fair. And then he's gone over to Ireland, won the Irish Derby there. Then he's gone over to Paris and won the Grand Prix de Paris. Like I say, he's 4 to 6 for good reason. I'm going to come back and pick some holes in his form in a few moments. But second favourite, Ottoman Empire, is around 7 to 1. Done pretty much nothing wrong this season. Has won his last 4 starts for Johnny Murtagh over in Ireland, trained in Ireland. He's won his last 4, including a known trial for this in the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood. Battled on really well that day and put distance between himself and the others. I thought he beat some good horses that day at Goodwood, and yeah, I thought a decent piece of form. His breeding, the breeding of Ottoman Emperor, I would be concerned. It does slightly put me off. Is by Crack Miler X Celebration, and out of a mare who never got near to winning a race in 2 starts, to be fair. Mojo Star's third in the market, 8 to 1. I put him up as an obvious trading prospect on Twitter a few weeks ago at 14 to 1. I'm not saying that he's a likely winner at this stage, but I just thought he was a definite runner at the time. He's 8 to 1. Ran a big but rather lucky race in the Derby, I would say. He was a 50 to 1 shot going into that, finished second in the Derby, got a bit of a nice run round behind the winner on the inside, and the form in behind didn't look too great. Has looked a likely winner for this, runner for this for a while. Mojo Star got what they call apparently a confidence boosting win in a piddly race last time at Newbury, where we learnt nothing. The first part of there's going to be a double-barreled rant on 2 horses in this race. This is one of them. A confidence booster for a horse, to me, is a complete myth. The horse doesn't know where the finishing line is. I know SD is going to give me an example from 25 years ago. The horse doesn't know where the finish line is, and in particularly regarding Mojo Star. He was in front for 3 furlongs in a 4-runner race and passed 1 horse in total. So it's a load of rubbish about getting a confidence booster into the horse. Fair enough, he needed to have a day out and get fit. He's won the race at 1 to 6 in a maiden. But is he quite good enough, Mojo Star, to win this? Probably not. If there was plenty of rain around, I think that would increase his chances. But he's got a lot to do with Hurricane Lane. And that brings us on to High Definition. I've been dead against this horse all season, and he's done absolutely naff all. Let's remember this horse, High Definition, was the Derby favourite over the winter for a long time. He made his reappearance this year in the Dante, where he was favourite. Took a walk round the bend in the first bend in the Dante, which no one appears to talk about. He was first off the bridle, ridden vigorously 3 furlongs out, plodded on past beaten horses to be third. Hurricane Lane won that race. Then he ran in the Irish Derby, where apparently he was struck into and he finished second last. More excuses given. And then last time we seen him in the Voltager at York, and I think it was a stinker. He was first off the bridle again. He was outpaced early in the straight, offered absolutely nothing, and I just don't know how anyone can be backing him for this race. He's been supplemented at a cost of 30 grand. Some people will get on the back of that, but let's remember Aidan's got another 3 runners in this race, and there's plenty of money splashing around at Ballydoyle headquarters. 30 grand isn't going to make a dent. I can't have him at all. I wouldn't back him if I found money on the floor. but at least he's about right, the right price at 9-1. He's got Frankie Dettori on. SD, I'll hand over to you at this stage before I give you my selection. But yeah, any response to my rants?
Yes, I think you're talking out of your bald backside, to be quite honest. I've never heard anything as ridiculous in my life. So let's take point one, horses not needing a confidence booster and all this, and horses don't know where the line is. You turn around and tell me that Persian Punch didn't know where the line was, that giant Causeway didn't know where the line was. You can either go to a lesser level, you can look at better times ahead around Tarnawa in the late 90s. He certainly knew where the line was. So I think that's an absolute load of rubbish, but that said, I don't fancy Mojo Star. It reminds me very much of Perrimon, who was trained by the late, the great, he's not dead yet, the great Clive Britton. Great Clive Britton. Yes, his wife's dead, but he's not. Anyway, it does remind me of Perrimon, who was close to second at 500-1 in the Derby, and actually, I think, ran in the later and finished fourth. That's probably about where Mojo Star will finish. Now, just to go back on high definition, I backed this horse at the start of the week, actually, when Billy Hill put 16 up. I couldn't believe it. He's 2 lengths to find with Hurricane Lane on the dandy form. One has gone forward since, one has gone backwards. High definition had more, honestly, he had more problems over the winter than Paul Gascoigne with a bottle of Skull. It was a terrible winter for high definition. So Frankie's on. I think you were very, very quick to dismiss it. Very quick. And note on Ottoman Empire, which nobody seems to have picked up on either, he's not. Johnny Murtagh hasn't had a winner in a month. I think his last winner was probably in the Evil. So the horses may not be right there. And Maddie Tails backed him, so I hope he doesn't win. We'll do selections. If you've been watching Maddie, I don't like you. We'll do selections shortly, I think. Hurricane Lane is solid. His form tells you that. But yes, you can pick some holes in it. I mean,
well, while you're on that point, I'm going to ask you, SD, Hurricane Lane. Who has he beat, really? Who is the best horse he's beat, right? Because Wordsworth was second in France. He's a plodder. He's a worse plodder than high definition. He was beaten over 10 lengths in an Irish Group 3 on his next start. That's Wordsworth, who was second in France. The third in France, Alan Kerr ran a big race in the Judmont, don't get me wrong. But everything else in behind that day was not up to much, and the French hadn't got any horses anyway.
Mediterranean, so he's licked Mediterranean by 7 lengths. The Mediterranean's come up and gone second in the Voltige. I think the other point with Hurricane Lane is, and this has been found in the market, look, he shouldn't have won the Irish Derby. Frankie rode an absolutely brilliant race on that thing of Martin Mead, which probably should have won the Irish Derby, but it was against the track bias. And to be honest with you, he's hard enough to oppose, but it's almost a bit like Starman last week. You know, there have been fancied horses beaten in this race. I think he's more solid than Starman was last week, but it wouldn't totally surprise me if he was beaten.
There's enough holes in his form to take him on at 8-11. It's all price related, as we say. I mean, the Irish Derby was at the end of June, and only 2 horses behind Hurricane Lane that day have won since. Mojo Star was one of them in a maiden at 1-6, so you can forget that. And the 4th that day was Earlswood, and he has won a nice Group 3 since. But absolutely nothing else. There's 11 runs, 2 of them have won, as the 2 mentioned, and 7 have been unplaced. In regards to Lone Eagle, he went off 7-2, second or third favourite for the King George, and finished last. And so I just think there's enough holes in Hurricane Lane's form to be taking him on. As for a selection, I'm going to put one up each way. Youth Spirit is in the region of 33. It's 33-1. Would have got closer to Ottoman Empire in the Gordon with a clearer run. I'm not saying he would have won, but it had got closer than he did. And I thought he ran pretty well in the Voltige. He was one of the outsiders. The stay in this trip is a question mark on pedigree, but that's built into the price. Is 33-1. So Youth Spirit would be my each way selection, because I'm more than happy to take on quite a few above him in the market, and hopefully he can mop up maybe second or third.
Okay. well, I probably took a similar approach because I had that scope last week at 50 to 1, and he's still 50 to 1. Ralph, it is spelled Ralph, but he's that posh, of course. You've got to call him Rafe. Anyway, he's won the race before, hasn't he? This source was, he was 5.5 lengths behind Aliar at Lanefield, and then he had a break, and he ran a perfectly good race on the Voltage. Just got a bit tired and plodded on. I think he'll stay. He'll be crying on when others have had enough. At 50 to 1, I will back him again, and I thought the angle actually was to look at Denise's special market without the favourite and back him each way at 25. So Hurricane Lane will be a non-runner. That's why it's called without the favourite, and you're effectively then getting 3 places behind Hurricane Lane, and that might be the way to play the race. I can't have Mojo Star. I just cannot have him at all. I can't really have Ottoman Empire, so I'm a bit like you, but apart from it wouldn't at all surprise me if High Definition came back with a vengeance. But I thought Scope was the value at 50.
Just final point on Hurricane Lane. You've made the same point as what a friend of the channel, Lee Jones, has made about High Definition was only 2 lengths behind Hurricane Lane in the Dante, while Mojo Star finished in front of Hurricane Lane in the Derby. So that puts that argument to bed. But we'll move on.
No, it doesn't, and I'll tell you why it doesn't. I explained to you at the time. Of course, you never listen, do you? High Definition, it was well publicised at the time. It was a project it ran in the Dante. It was a downright rush preparation. So what's happened with his runs of years? They've always been a bit behind. The case for High Definition is fairly simple. He's not been right all season. He was still only 2.5 lengths behind the 11 fat. If he's back to his 2-year-old best, he will give Hurricane Lane a race at least. And I don't think their playing game supplemented him. I think they thought he wasn't ready, and now maybe it's blossomed. But I wouldn't put it this way. I wouldn't want to be laying in the second one.
Yeah, well, is 9 to 1 anyway. We'll move on. There's a difference of opinion, which is always welcome on this channel. The other Group 1 on Saturday, the second Group 1, which is live on ITV, earlier than usual, is the Irish Champion Stakes. And I'll be one of the lucky few to be at Leopardstown on Saturday in a privileged position. I've never been over there, so looking forward to that. 4 runners in the Irish Champion. St Mark's Basilica, been one of the stars of the season, is 5 to 4, could get shorter. Tarnawa, a horse that I love, is 2 to 1, second favourite. Poetic Flair is a really intriguing runner at 100 to 30. Then it's Patrick Sarsfield, who's going to pick up 50 grand euros for finishing 4th. He's 33 to 1. St Mark's, unbeaten in 3 starts this year, has won his last 4 races, all at Group 1s, 4 on the bounce. A couple of them in France are just really exciting. Also, to be fair, with the turn of foot that he showed in winning the Coral Eclipse at Sandown in July. Missed the Judmont at York, which was his intended target, but he seems back and ready to go here. I think he's the rightful fav at 5 to 4. But Tarnawa is a horse I put up for the Arc a few weeks ago on this channel at 10 to 1. This will be a final start before a date with Destiny in Paris in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. Tarnawa showed a fitness with an easy win last month in Ireland. I love her, big fan, make no bones about it. Is she good enough to give St Mark's Basilica £3 and a beating? Not sure, but at 2 to 1, I'm happy to be with her at 2 to 1. Tarnawa, she will definitely be an official selection. Poetic Flair danced many dancers this year, nearly all the dancers. Certainly adds a different element of form to this race with his first try over 10 furlongs. I mean, in Group 1s this year, he's raced in so many of them. In Group 1s this year, his form reads 1-6-2, 1-2-2. I mean, it's just really likeable profile about him. Strong traveller, fascinating contender at 7-2. What did you make of it, Esty?
I thought it wasn't a betting race. It's a fantastic race. before we just go on to that, just tell everyone how you get into Ireland. So bear in mind, you live half an hour from Manchester Airport, and you could be in Dublin in 40 minutes. How do you get into Ireland?
Well, SD. I mean, I'm happy to discuss my personal and family arrangements with hundreds of people live on YouTube on a Thursday night. But I'll be going on the ferry. I'll be there this time tomorrow night. I'll be going on the ferry. There's a variety of reasons for which you're fully aware of, but I won't be sharing with the likes of Brendan Smith, Lucas Coppin, and Joe Wall. So we'll move on from that. Thanks.
Yeah. Just 2.5 hours to get to Holyhead and another 3.5 hours on the ferry.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great race. I agree with you. It's a fantastic race. Obviously, I'd be weakest on Tarnawa. Tarnawa won't win the art. Don't worry about that.
Strong opinion there, SD.
Well, I know I'll upset people with that, won't I? Look, St. Mark, if he's like he was in the Eclipse, I think he'll win this. I think he's probably a slightly better horse than the other two, but this isn't to take anything away from Poetic Flair and Tarnawa. So I had a bet in the race, and I can't just be putting selections up. It wouldn't surprise me if any of the three won. But I think St. Mark's is probably the most likely winner, and I think the race is probably priced up right, with Tarnawa probably a little bit skinny. Yeah,
I would tend to agree with that. That the prices look right to me. What I would say about this St. Mark's, and I know he is the Ballydoyle standout this year, alongside Snowfall, but from a male perspective, I think there is an element of bigging him up and all the talk and hype around him. He is by Sayuni. There's not many horses at Ballydoyle that are by Sayuni from that bloodline, if you like, and we all know that who they've lost this year in the breeding shed. So I think St. Mark's has got an important future ahead of him, and I think if they can talk him up and he can back it up, then he's a very, very important horse for that operation. Anyway, we're back to Doncaster. It's the 145, the Portland 5.5 furlongs. Not many big Saturday handicaps over this distance. But I quite like one here, SD, and I know you will certainly like one as well. I like the look of Mr. Wagyu. He's been a very busy boy this year. He's got 12 starts to his name. He's got 12 starts to his name since May the 1st, which is a lot for a horse. But he's won 5 run and he's shot up the handicap. He hated Ripon last time, and SD will tell you that well-fancied horses often don't get on with Ripon. So you can put a line through that. I mean, his last 4 starts at Ripon, he's been closer to last than first, but I will say that Mr. Wagyu had won at Ripon before that in his earlier days in easier races. But his last 4 starts there have been terrible. Put a line through that. He is off a career high mark, but could hardly have won the Stewards Cup consolation race at Goodwood any easier, if you ask me. And a return to that form puts him in right with a chance. I think he can get in the region of 12 to 1, 7 places, Mr. Wagyu. So that would be my selection in the 145 Portland.
It's a good race, isn't it? It's a very good race. Look, I played the race at the start of the week. I actually said she didn't. I said I think Hurricane Ivor could go off very short here. It was fairly well publicised that time. The best of hold-up horses in York, about 5.5 for the long race. I think this race is absolutely made for him. They pulled him out quite wisely at the bullet when he was drawn on the road, and he's just got the look of a horse that will be in group races very, very soon. He's very solid. I think Sky is 7 places, 11 to 2. You know what? Take that, or Hills 6 places, 13 to 2, and back into win on bets there. I thought he was by far and away the most likely winner of this race. I did think the pace was low to middle, which is absolutely ideal for him. I'm going to put up another one as well, because look, with bookies paying 7 places, it isn't a bad method to have a bit of insurance, and I thought there's not many betting races this weekend, and this was certainly one of them. Now, Boundless Power has been so unlucky this year. He's had more traffic problems than when you go to Kempton Park. The poor thing has just been chopped up, basically. If he gets a run, he's handicapped to win a race of this nature. He's only had 11 starts, and of 88, he has the look of a horse who is very could be well handicapped, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 100 horse in time. Am I a big fan of Nick Appleby in these sorts of races? Probably not. I think she's a lot better on the all, but I suppose it's built into the price. I think he's well drawn in 8, and I thought he was certainly worth a saver on the 7th place market as well.
12.
They're my two against the field. I didn't think it was that strong. When you start going down, there's not that many with a chance. When you all the rags, if you like, I can't see any of the rags. There's no chance whatsoever.
Well, I think the market tells you that really, SD, because we've got a max field of 22 runners, and the top rated, which you're on, is Hurricane Ivor 102, and it goes all the way down to 87. So there's quite a big disparity of weights there, like going back to the good old days around the year 2000. And Boundless Power is down the bottom of the weights, ridden by friend of the channel, Russell Ryan, and Boundless Power is about 12-1, and SD also likes Hurricane Ivor at 13-2. Moving on at Doncaster, a Group 2 for the 2-year-olds at 220. The Champagne Stakes, a race I really quite like, to be honest, generally. And this year we're going to learn quite a lot, because we've got one of the stars or potential stars of the season, Reach for the Moon, who I got completely wrong last time, and was made to look stupid because I took him on my first ever advised lay bet on the channel, and he went and won very easily by 4 lengths. So that made me look stupid. But I do, and I am clutching at straws here, I do think my argument about what I said about Reach for the Moon before that still stands, because I don't think he likes the whip, because he's veered away from the whip on 2 starts before his last start. But the whip wasn't used last time, so we didn't learn any more whether he likes it or not. This is going to be a much harder race, and you'll be pretty certain that the whip is going to be needed to be used on Reach for the Moon, and we'll see how he reacts this time. And we have seen horses, particularly at Doncaster, where the parade ring is by the side of the course. There's not many courses like that. It's in the final furlong. The parade ring's there. We're going to find out how he's going to react with his temperament, and particularly with the whip. He raced freely early doors as well at Sandown last time, but look, he won by 4 lengths. What more can I say? There's only 4 runners. Reach for the Moon's 4-5, slight odds on. I think the obvious bet is the second Fav Lusail 2-1. He has to give Reach for the Moon £3, thanks to his most recent win in the Gym Crack at York, which is at the same level as this. But when he got a clear run then, or when he got going, he didn't have an unclear run, but when he got going and when he hit top gear, he scooted clear in the Gym Crack. I think 7 furlongs will suit him down to the ground. And if there's a scrap between the 2 market leaders, Reach for the Moon and Lusail, inside the final furlong, there's only one horse that I'd want to be on if that was the case. SD.
Well, we all knew that was very big because Howland, of course, is going to back Lusail. He's not a bet, is he? It's not a bet in the race.
No.
I think Richard will win personally. I think he has the potential to improve more than Lusail, who's had 5 runs and managed to get the follow. Look, there's more question marks about Lusail than there is about Moon. I think he put money down to greenness almost, but he was certainly a lot better last time. I'm not backing him at that price. I think I think the race is probably but they're not going to be worth the way it is.
You sound like you've gone underwater.
Oh, do I?
Yes.
How's that?
Worse.
Well, let me move to the. Let me move to my other quarters. How's that?
Right, that's better. Right, so the Champagne's a no bet race, SD. That's fair to say. Yep.
I think, yeah. There's not that many betting races this weekend.
Well, unfortunately. Right, we're up against time, so we're going to be moving on to the 3 o'clock at Doncaster, which is a Group 3 over 7 furlongs, so the same course and distance as the Champagne. But for old horses, it's very unoriginal selection from me. I really do quite like Laneqash. Yeah, it's 13-8, but I think that's a bet. He ran a stormer after a 294-day break last time when he was second in the Hungerford. He finished that race looking like there was plenty more to come fitness-wise. He wasn't exactly fully extended by Dane O'Neill that day. He wouldn't want loads of rain, but he's the most likely winner of all my weekend selections. I really do quite like Laneqash. And the guys in behind, the likes of Danyar, Glorious Journey, Dubai, this is us. We've seen them plenty this season. I just think that Laneqash is the unexposed one with potential and a lot more to come. Fire away.
Well, honestly, I did the form this afternoon. I don't like to see the betting before I do the form. The reason for that is judgment slightly. There's no these on what they've achieved so far. And Laneqash, to me, there's a slight question mark if you can back that up. I thought it was a rotten prize, to be honest. Anyway, I'll back Glorious Journey at 11-4. He ran a perfectly solid race at York. He won the Criterion. He's a very solid type in these 7 furlong group races, and he's got a very good strike rate. Give him 7 furlongs on the flat track, and I know Donny and Walter in tonight. They probably missed the worst of the rain. I think he'll be on the quick side. He has one on soft, but I think it's fair to say he's better on soft on Paddy ground. He might have been better at Newmarket, but he's never run here. And I thought he was the best in the race, to be honest.
Just confirm the name there, SD.
Glorious Journey.
Glorious Journey, yeah. So we've seen a lot of him this season, and like you say, I mean, if he was less than 2 lengths behind Space Blues last time, you can see why people like yourself may edge in that direction. And yeah, I think the ground will be fine, given that they've missed most of what was earlier forecast in the week. That wraps up the live stuff on Saturday. We're going to do a quick nod to Sunday, but first, SD, the best part of the week around the racing world with SD. Where are you going this week? You're on 4 on the bounce. Where are you going to be going to make it 5 or 6?
I know, no pressure. There's 2 bets at the undercard. Now, we purposely not had a bet in those races at Chester because they're not very good, are they? Look, there's a horse called Palivicino. He was entered up at Kempton last week. I quite liked him there, but he's a really good horse around Chester. This fella. The first start he beat Restorer by a length and a half last year, and perhaps even more eye-catching. He was not disgraced at all in the 10 furlong Group 3 race, whose name escapes me. It might be the D. It's probably called something else. He finished in front of Bangkok that day, who's gone on and won a group race. Now, there is 2 starts around Chester. It looked a bit of a flop job to me, they're going to Chester. He's off 105.
What time is it?
I think he can be very, very competitive. So that is just a second. This equipment is very faulty tonight. I think it's the 425 at Chester. How's that? He's 7-1, and I think that's a fair price.
So we're at the 425 Chester, and it is called Palivicino or something like that, trained by Brian Meehan. So, yeah, 7-1. Any more, SD, in your round the world segment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm up to Musselburgh on Saturday. That'll be fun. I couldn't find a better the price races at Musselburgh, so I've gone to Bath, which will be, it's always good punting at Bath because they don't water, so it'll be like absolute concrete there, and that's really going to suit Ginger Jam in the 4:30. Now he is 5-2, but I'd have him a lot shorter than this. He's won on very fast ground at Bath before, off a mark of 80, and that was earlier this year. He's down to 78. Again, he had traffic problems at Carlisle, but I don't think he's going to have any traffic problems here. And he must have a shout. Now, Faye McManaman, not my favourite jockey whatsoever, but she's won 5 times on Ginger Jam, so she clearly has a rapport with the horse, and I fully expect Ginger Jam to win what is a moderate race. When Michael Wagyu has won at 5-1 in the race, it's not much good.
Excellent. Well, that wraps up all the Saturday 2 selections in the other races from SD there. We'll have them in the description below as normal. Just a quick touch on Sunday before we wrap up. There's 4 Group 1s at the Curragh, I think. There's a Group 1 in France, the Vimille for fillies. A bit of ARC Trials Day in Paris on Sunday. Vermeil, where Snowfall, the favourite for the ARC, will be going. And a couple of other trials races as well. But I will just, there's no final fields yet. It's only Thursday night. I would just nod towards the national stakes at the Curragh on Sunday, 7 furlongs, Group 1 for 2-year-olds. I really, really, really like Native Trail. I think he could upset the odds-on 5 Point Lonsdale. I've got nothing against Point Lonsdale. He's clearly the best 2-year-old we've seen from O'Brien so far this year. But Charlie Appleby has won 2 of the last 3 national stakes, and he was an unlucky 4th in this race last year with Master of the Seas. There was a few unlucky horses in that race, to be fair. I just like the way Native Trail won the Superlative at the July meeting. He's not been seen since. The form of that race is pretty good. Masekela has backed it up since. He just looks to be the leading Godolphin Guineas hope at this early stage. He could be around 3-1 when decks are in tomorrow, maybe 5-2. I think Native Trail will definitely be my main hope at the Curragh on Sunday. Have you looked at Sunday yet, Esty?
Well, I had a quick look. Of course, the featured meet is at Haydock. Sunday series.
Yeah, but is this the one that you're not attending, Esty, despite being an annual member at Haydock?
Look, the problem is I'm at Musselburgh Saturday. I've got Ashdown to Eastbourne Sunday, Brighton Monday, Fogwell on Tuesday. So some possibly fitted in. It is a rearranged fixture. It's not been rearranged. I'm sure I'd have been there. Look, I've no interest in betting on that. I'll just be a flyer dog and no to change the anti-post prices for the Classic next year. So there's a good way to get your account shot, lads. But that's what I'll be doing on Sunday.
Right, well, that pretty much wraps it up then. So what would be we'll put the bets in the description as usual. On the Saturday ITV stuff, SD, what's the main bet for you then? What's the most confident?
I'll go Hurricane. I'll go Hurricane Ivor. Just a quick note. We had a rant about Ed Walker last week.
We did. Well, you did.
This Starman's now been beaten twice since he was the best thing since sliced bread. He came out on Monday on the post, and I think he said he's still the equine Usain Bolt. Now you can tell why the guys on the train on Group 1 winner. What complete and utter flog. The man should just say, look, I got it wrong. I treated the Sprint Cup as a formality, and he's got egg on his face, and quite rightly so. He looks like an idiot now.
Yeah, but didn't his last 4 winners or something this week, or his first 4 winners this week, or win first 4 runners?
I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in his prowess at Group 1 level, which is moderate to say the least. Don't forget he had the favourite for the Derby, that absolute talking horse.
Oh yeah. English King. I was dead against that, but no, just on Starman. Yeah, strange kind of race. Took a while to get going. I mean, he would have been in front with an extra 10 yards. I know that's no excuse, and you don't get paid out on those kind of hard luck stories. But I mean, you've got to give credit to the winner. Really, he's improved throughout the season. Emirati Anna was definitely holding on towards the end, but he's and just while we're on the Sprint Cup, SD, I'll just highlight again that the Art Power was ridden exactly as he has been on the last 3 or 4 occasions. And as was said last week, the same would happen again. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's what will happen to people like you when you keep backing Art Power with Sylvester on board.
Will you accept, though, if it was ridden properly, I am convinced this horse could win a Group 1. Now, what I'm saying to the King Power Syndicate and Tim Easterby, who all listen to this channel, Jock Sylvester off. Put David Allen on even. I'm not bothered, but the man does not know how to ride that horse, and it is costing you Group 1 winners. He was ridden like, I'm sure people in the comments will remember, I thought it was an awful ride. And just a quick nod as well to Kevin Ryan. Kevin Ryan is a great trainer of sprinters. Yep. He's so many good sprinters. You can just rhyme off the tongue, Glass Slippers, Brando, and now Emirati Anna. And I hope Emirati Anna as well. He was the best horse in the race, and he was. And Kevin Ryan is a multiple Group 1 winning trainer where Ed Walker is not.
Right, well, on that note, we will wrap it up. Hope everyone's enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Some new faces in there tonight. Chris Wells, thanks for joining us. The regulars are in there as well. So thanks for joining, and we'll speak to you soon. Hopefully,
we'll be live from Eastbourne next week. week.
Yes, we hopefully Pieman will be back when he's sorted all of his household utilities out, including his boiler. But yeah, we'll be back next week. There is some darts content on there as well. The World Cup of Darts got underway today. I know SD loves the darts, so yeah, make sure you tune into that as well. I really fancy Belgium in that 15-2. Back soon. Cheers, fellas. See you later.